Alrighty. We're gonna get going. I need to be able to see any participants that are coming in though, so I'm gonna leave that up. Okay, so I don't think either any of you guys were in the class on Tuesday, probably because some of you were at the job site or you just weren't able to make it that day. But I will do a very short overview of what we had talked about in the last class. It is recorded and it's posted to the Facebook page, so you guys can go back and watch the recording of me teaching that class on Tuesday so that you're caught up. But we're going to go ahead and move along with it. So the whole class that we had talked about on Tuesday was all about communication styles. So it's probably kind of weird having me teach the construction curriculum for a minute, but it's not construction necessarily related stuff. It's about communicating with people on the job site. It's about, today is going to be more about like employment skills, job skills, and things like that. So kind of more my alley, because we all know construction is not really my thing. So all through Tuesday, we had talked about different communication styles with talking and listening to each other as being a channel of communication, and then reading and writing as being a channel of communication. So again, go back in, watch that recording so that you guys are aware and are ready to go for the test. It's going to be important that you go and watch that. But we're going to pick up where we left off from Tuesday. So once you go and watch it, this will make sense. But basically, we had been talking about what it's like to kind of write an essay, why it's important to make sure we have good grammar, why it's important to make sure that we have good syntax and paragraph structure when we're writing things like emails, so that people, we can give our message across in a nice, organized way, especially when we're working on a professional job site. So a lot of these concepts are relating back to construction and being a construction worker, being a higher up construction worker and needing to communicate with clients, needing to talk to your coworkers on a job site, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and play this first. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about email for a second. So how many of you guys have had to email somebody in your professional lives? So had to email maybe somebody, an employer, maybe you had to email somebody to talk about scheduling an interview, something like that. Have you guys all had to email somebody in a professional setting?
Oh yeah, I used to be in a CPS case, and that's the only way you can talk to them.
Definitely. So you've had to be pretty professional emailing back and forth with the CPS worker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a time where you want to be professional. You're right about that.
Yeah.
So I think at least all of you, if not most of you, have definitely had to send some sort of professional email in your lifetime. So this is an example of, in a construction setting, an example of how to be professional when you're emailing somebody. So I'm going to show you two separate emails here in a minute, and I want you guys to tell me which one would be more professional to send off if you were talking to a client. So this is an example of a client, say you're building a house for somebody, and this client, you can see based on the email, they're trying to ask about, they're talking to you about paint colors and faucets, and you can see they've even listed some paint colors and eggshell or semi-gloss finish, and then we've included some paint samples and some faucet samples, okay? So that's what this email is about. So you can look at this email, make sure you study it pretty well right now. Then I'm going to flip over to the next email, and I want you guys to tell me which email you would prefer to send in a professional setting. Okay, so here's email number 1. Then I'm going to show you email number 2 is this one. If you were sending this, it's the exact same information as the first email. If you were sending this email out, would you prefer to send this one? Would you prefer to send this one? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with the second.
And why is that?
That is the other one. It's the that one. It lists like the names, the prices.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to read the second one yet.
It's more simple to like navigate than
You don't
the
have
other
to
one.
put stuff in order all crazy like.
Okay.
Because they already got it in order for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second one.
Okay.
It just seems more simple.
Okay, so I hear kind of a simple layout. The reader doesn't have to put it in order in their head. You know, the email is already laid out things in order. Even the paint colors are separate from the faucet sets. They've got them in lists that are easy to kind of block out. You guys totally nailed it on the head. If I was receiving a professional email, this first one would be hard to understand. You know, I've got prices that are kind of dusted in there. I've got a couple colors that are just wedged in between this other information. But this one gives me a really nice layout. It's easy to see what's trying to be told to me. It's easy to determine paint colors and faucets. And you have a nice signature at the end. See, it says regards, being like thank you, and then the name and the company that you're with. So definitely if you're trying to send a professional email, and especially if you've got numbers or prices that you're trying to include in there, break those things out. Make lists, make it look nice and organized so that somebody doesn't have to look at this and be like, okay, what am I trying to decipher here? That's just a clump of words. That's hard to read compared to this. You guys are definitely right. Moving on to text messaging. It's obviously an easy way to communicate, especially with if you're just trying to say something really quick and you don't want to have to get your email out and say something, you know, long-winded on an email. So if you're doing something for texting in a professional setting, because it is possible, I text my boss, I text Brandy, and, you know, ask certain things every now and then. So if texting is going to be a form of communication that you've talked to your boss about, you've talked to your coworkers about, and that's a, you know, approved way to communicate, here are some tips on how to do this professionally. So the first thing first, like we just said, be sure it's the best choice for what you need to be communicated. If you had all those prices listed out on, like in this email back here, would you want to send this in a text message? I'm going to go with probably not. This would be hard to send in a text message, right? This is definitely email type information. But if you're just texting your boss being like, hey, I have a question for you, or hey, I can't make it in today, try to keep things simple and concise on a text message so you're not sending a big paragraph. Make sure what you're texting is accurate. It's so easy to just let autocorrect fill things in and they have incorrect words or incorrect spelling. Take a double check through your text message before you send it and make sure everything's spelled right and that you're saying the right thing. If you're sending something professional to a client or to your boss, don't use abbreviations like LOL, or they say IMHO, which is in my honest opinion, which we don't use often. But just try to act like you'd be sending a nice professional email without abbreviations. Capitalize things appropriately, like that. And then of course they say that at the end, don't ever text and drive, or don't ever text on the job site while you're trying to operate machinery. Know when it's appropriate to be on your phone. Okay. All right, that's the end. That was just the little end of Module 7, talking about communication styles. So we're going to do kind of a harsh shift into Chapter 8. I just wanted to finish that since we didn't get a chance yesterday to finish that. Again, go and watch the other presentation that I had done on Tuesday that's posted to the Facebook group so that you guys have a good idea of what else we talked about with Module 7. So we're going to transfer over to 7. Give me a second here, I gotta find it. There it is. Okay. Are you guys seeing my new screen that says core curriculum? Yes? No?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry, I was on mute and I was all talking to you.
That's all right. So you can see the new screen, it says core curriculum, and you see a big resume in the middle, yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to employability skills. That's what this next whole module is about. It's what Module 8 is about. So we've got, you see a big resume here. A lot of this stuff is it's not gonna be news to you. It's things you've heard about, but we're gonna apply some of these skills and make sure that we're all on the same page. So, moving on. All right, so this first, it's gonna be a little confusing. I have 3 separate PowerPoints for you. So it's just all this information is broken up into a couple PowerPoints, but we're gonna kind of go through it quickly because I know you guys know a lot of this stuff. So we're gonna talk about construction businesses today and the importance of critical thinking and problem solving. So some things that might be kind of new concepts, the way that we're going to talk about them. So I'm sure you guys have seen lists like this, especially talking about construction field stuff, but on one single construction site, whether you're building a house or some other sort of commercial building, these are all the different types of construction workers you might find. And this list is not exhaustive. It's just a list. You could find all of these different types of workers on one single construction site. You could have masons and concrete finishers. You could be an iron worker, a welder, electrician, HVAC technicians. A lot of construction sites need all the different types of trades. So definitely.
Hey, Lily. Question, because I know we've already done the OSHA shit, but this was something I forgot to ask them. In construction, if you're a heavy equipment operator and somebody is not being what's it called? What is it called? If you're the one in the vehicle and you can't see, obviously you can't see everywhere in certain vehicle and certain heavy equipment. If somebody is not being situationally aware of their surroundings and stuff, and you accidentally like hit them with the fucking equipment, do you get charged with it, or does the company get charged with it?
You get charged with it. So this guy, he took a guy out with what do you call him? Whatever. And he had to pay for the equipment he was driving, and you have to pay for everything else. You will end up going to jail too.
Fuck, man.
It depends on the situation. A lot of the responsibility is on you, though. Allie's right in that.
Well, it'll be on both, because like no matter where you go, the company's gonna get in trouble for having a dummy like that, and whoever's being the dummy is gonna be
so
paying.
If it's a legitimate business or a legitimate company, they have what's called liability insurance, where they pay a monthly premium just like you would for health insurance, and it helps cover them if there were workplace incidences like that.
Don't work for Coeur d'Alene Windows.
Okay, well, it's good to know. But legit company probably has some sort of liability insurance that can help protect them, help protect the company in case some sort of awful, tragic accident happens like that. However, that doesn't mean you're off the hook. There's definitely going to be an investigation. You're going to be laid off of work for a while while they figure out what happened. And potentially you could be held liable for some of those costs, as well as the other person's medical costs, things like that. So I think the answer is a little bit of both. And it depends on how good the workers' compensation insurance and liability insurance.
Yeah, because if you're also been doing it for a long time, you probably will get off the hook by also being able to keep that for your job. Because if you've been in this business or whatever for like 12 years or 7 or whatever,
then you've never made that mistake.
you usually.
Right.
Because the guy that did it, he still worked there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. He almost killed a guy, dude.
That's understandable. It's called heavy equipment.
Evan tried to call me, but I'm hoping he's able to join our class in a second. Okay, I'm going to stay in this view just for a second because I'm going to have to switch back and forth trying to answer Evan. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about resume a little bit. So can you guys see this okay? This resume here? Awesome. So how many of you guys have a resume that you've used and you're pretty proud of? You think it's pretty up to date?
I think I created one, but to be honest, I don't know.
Okay. Danny says no. You would want
you guys
do it?
I created one a while ago, but I have very little work experience, so it kind of fucks me over sometimes.
Got it. Not having the work experience is hard sometimes. And Allie, working on them at Next Gen has been a possibility. We also have Rachel as part of our team now, and she's going to help a lot with making resumes.
Well, I was asking if they already made one there, because I remember when you enroll there, they usually do stuff like that, but maybe when you're in youth build program, they probably wait for you to go to them.
Yeah, possibly.
Because they came to me for it.
Right. It's definitely an aspect of Next Generation Zone, but it's also an aspect of youth build. So I think they let youth build help the youth builders with it, and we will. That's definitely going to be a part of our curriculum here in a bit. Not just construction curriculum, but we're going to make sure you have a good resume and cover letter ready to go before you guys exit the program. So
There's a
since
fucking-
you guys have certain things that you want to work on with your resumes, this is an awesome review for you guys. So we're going to talk about this. This is what a pretty decent looking resume looks like, especially if you're trying to do construction, making it really concise, really clear. One page is preferred. If your stuff spills onto a second page, that's all right, as long as you're keeping things really concise. You can see the margins, everything's staying in between those pretty tight margins. You don't have everything down the center of the page. You know, you're really doing your best to condense things to get them nice and professional looking. You'll see at the top, you've got the name. You can put your address on there, not totally necessary to put your address anymore. Definitely put contact information. Make sure your phone number and an email is on there so that an employer can look at that and contact you if they want an interview, right? That's really important. At the top, it's common to put an employment objective. So an objective is what your goal is for employment. So this person says the objective is to obtain a position within a construction company where I can use my carpentry and custom woodworking skills, right? So they got to use a second to be kind of creative and talk about the things that they are good at, right? I get to use my carpentry and woodworking skills. That's saying that you have those skills and say that you really want to use them. You can personalize a resume for a specific job you're applying to. If you applied, you have skills in both carpentry and welding, for example, and you applied to a welding job, you would want to focus that objective on welding so that employer would be like, oh, they're interested in welding. And then for the carpentry job, you want to focus that objective on doing things with carpentry so that employer was like, oh, carpentry. But you don't need one singular resume that pertains to everything. You can have ones they're called focused resumes.
Lily, you just turned down like a lot and I didn't hear you. Can you say that again?
Oh, I did? Let me try and get closer to it. I'm just saying that you can have focused resumes so that you can have one resume that is more specific to a certain job and one resume that's more specific to a different job. You can highlight your skills in welding if you're applying to a welding job. You can highlight your skills in carpentry if you're applying to a carpentry job.
Okay.
You don't need to have one specific resume that applies to everything. It's easier that way, but it can look a lot better to an employer if you make it. So this person looks like they're applying to a carpentry job and wanting to highlight those carpentry skills. After that, oops, that really zoomed in, didn't it?
Hey, Lily.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the same. Your audio's doing the same thing this morning. I think it is your audio, not like.
No,
people trying
it
to
was
talk
because
something.
Travis was unmuted for a second and then he muted himself.
Oh, okay.
That's why
I'll
we
wait.
couldn't hear her twice.
Okay.
I'll try to stay closer to the microphone. Maybe it's just being.
It's when we unmute ourselves.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for helping me figure that out. Let me know if it keeps happening. I'll go grab headphones to be closer. Okay. The next thing in a resume that you can put down are your skills and qualifications. So this person is saying that they're able to work independently and with the crew. You're saying they have good teamwork skills, but they don't need somebody else to be with them, right? That's a really good employment skill to have. Another thing they put down here is they're qualified to read residential and commercial construction drawings. So they have experience in looking at blueprints, for example. You want to highlight all those awesome things that you can do so an employer can see those and be like, awesome, that's good experience to have. After you list your skills and qualifications, you want to list that work experience, that direct experience that relates to the job that you have in some sort of way. And that means a lot of different things. If you're applying to a carpentry job, but you recently had a job at McDonald's for 2 years, you're still going to want to show that you worked at McDonald's because it shows that you were there for 2 full years. You're committed to that company. You have interpersonal skills where you can talk with people. You get along with coworkers if you worked there for a couple years, right? That means that you're a good team worker. So just because a job doesn't necessarily relate exactly to the job that you're currently applying for, doesn't mean that there aren't skills that you got in that previous job that will help you get a new one, okay? So
Especially since now we're going to have this stuff for the NCCER. Now that we have that, like once we get the certificate, it'll look a lot better too.
Absolutely it will. It'll show all those skills that you studied and practiced through NCCER. You're right, Allie, thank you. This person listed their 3 carpenter experiences, which is awesome. They only have a couple bullet points under there. We don't need a novel that explains the job. Just highlight the really important things that you got the chance to do in that job. Again, you want to keep it concise. You don't want them having to read a whole paragraph. Put enough information so that they're able to really understand what you were doing. It's a fine line between giving enough information and not giving so much that you're boring the interviewer and they don't want to read the rest of the thing, right? And then you can put your education down. So for most of you, by the time you guys are gonna go find a job, and for Danny especially, because he already got it, you're gonna want to put that you have your GED or your high school equivalency. And your education, you're gonna say you got your NCCER certificate. That's a huge chunk of education that's gonna be really important to getting a job. Even if you don't want to do construction and you end up applying for a job at Macy's after this, because that's what you feel like doing in the meantime, still put on your resume that you got your certification in NCCER, because that shows dedication. It shows follow through, that you finished that certificate. It shows a good amount of education. It shows that you learn skills outside of GED. So even if NCCER doesn't pertain to the, you're not applying to a construction job, that's all right. Still put down that you have that certification in there, because it looks good to any sort of employer, but especially construction, since it's related. Okay, how are we feeling about a resume? We will work on those separately with you guys a little bit later, but we're feeling good about layout, how they look. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I didn't hear back from Evan, so I'm gonna go back into our presenter view. Hello. There we go. Okay. All right. So when looking for a job, you want to look for a few things, because even though, yes, you're trying to impress an employer and you want to be able to get an interview, you have to make sure that that employer and that company is right for you as well, and that it's a job that you're able to do and that you want to be at. So if you're able to get salary information that like it was on the job posting, that's awesome. Make sure that right away in like your first interview, you're not being like, hey, how much am I going to get at this job? Right? You want to wait a little bit. If you have one interview and they don't tell you about the salary yet, that's okay. You can ask if they offer you the position. They will most likely tell you salary if they haven't already by the time they offer it to you. But if they offer you the position and they haven't told you about it yet, that's a good time to ask. Be like, how much is the salary? And if you're not sure if that salary is going to work for you, you can say, hey, can I give it 24 to 48 hours to get back to you so that I can check to make sure that that's going to work for me. Most employers are totally fine after they've offered you a position. You don't have to accept right away. You can say, hey, can I have a day to really think about it? And most of them will say absolutely, no worries. But you need to make sure that that salary is going to meet your needs, right? If you know you can't live on minimum wage, make sure that the position you're looking for and that you got offered to is. And same with benefits. If you really need health insurance, maybe you look for a job that offers certain benefits, and a laborers union, things like that definitely will. See about the scope of the work. Is it challenging but going to be doable? I mean, you don't want to do something that's so easy it's going to bore you. You have to make sure it's in your scope of qualifications. How does it feel to be around those kind of people? What is the reputation that the company has? Do a little research on the company. If you're applying for a certain construction company, you can go and Google that. Some people may have written some reviews, previous employees that say, hey, this is a really crappy place to work. The boss is really mean and you don't get any hours. And, people share a lot of stuff on companies. And go and see, do they have a website? Do they have a good social following? Does this look like a good company that people seem to trust? You typically find that with a quick Google search. So definitely do your research on the job. And then what's the culture like? What kind of training opportunities do they have? What kind of education opportunities do they have? You want to make sure that it's a company that works for you. They need to sell you on the job too. It's not just you selling yourself, but make sure that they're doing a good job of selling it to you as well. I think we just got Evan in the group, which is awesome. Okay. We're going to shift gears a little bit from looking for jobs, and we're going to switch to problem solving. So this problem solving kind of lesson that we have here is related to a lot of things outside of construction as well. These are life skills that we're talking about now. This is more than just being in a job even. These are things that are going to be important no matter where you're at. Who feels like they have a pretty good grasp on problem solving and troubleshooting in their life? Who thinks that they do? Yeah, kind of. Is there anybody that really thinks they need to work on their problem solving skills?
Definitely me.
Definitely you. Okay, why do you say that? What do you think are certain things you could work on with problem solving?
When it comes to problem solving, freaking not getting so anxious about it. Like, I have very high anxiety when that problem is presented at first, and then it takes me a while to actually solve the problem, but I always end up solving it anyways. But
Hmm.
it just takes me longer because of that anxiety of the problem.
Sure, absolutely. And I don't think you're alone in that. Yeah, that's definitely an important aspect about problem solving is being able to stay level-headed and approach your problem without too much anxiety so that it doesn't cloud your vision and your judgment, right? That's definitely an important skill when it comes to problem solving. Some of the key things, and that's one of the first things that they talk about here on the screen, even keys to problem solving, is don't let personal feelings get in the way. Be careful about anxiety, but also be careful about a problem making you angry, or if it's too personal of a problem and that gets in the way of solving things logically, then that could be an issue as well. Other keys to problem solving is determining the cause and effect. So, for example, if you know a glass of milk ends up spilled on the counter, determining what caused it to spill is going to be important in determining how I'm going to fix it. Right? Did I knock it over, or did my dog come by and its tail whacked it off the table? So that's going to be different about me figuring out how I'm going to solve that issue later in the future. That probably means I'm going to put milk higher up so that my dog can't get to it if that's the reason that it fell off the table, right? So determining the cause of an issue and the effect that it has will change how you're going to solve it later. Think about people who are sources of information and ask experts and people that you know and that you trust for advice when it comes to problem solving. So if you're on a job site and you have an issue that comes up, are you going to talk to the person next to you who's never had experience with it? Or are you going to go to Alex or Tom and ask them for advice, right? So think about those kind of issues when you're trying to have other people help you. Yeah, Danny, you have a question.
It's not really a question. Is this class going to take till like 3?
Probably till 3 about. Is that all right?
Yeah, I got to finish up some dishes before I head over to Sarah's, so that way
Okay.
because my son has a 6-month appointment today.
Got it. We will end at 3 no matter what. Hi, Evan. I see you just joined your video. We'll end at 3 no matter what, and I'm going to do my best to try and finish it, but if not, we'll pick it up later. But we'll end at 3 regardless. We'll make sure we're done at 3 so that you get to where you need to be.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, we're going to move on from this. We're going to move on to barriers to problem solving here. So when you're thinking about a problem, and let's relate this back to the construction site to make it easier to kind of follow along. Think about, being in the shop or being on the Malin house and having a problem come up, whether it's, you cut a piece of wood too short, now you're not sure what to do, or, you moved something to the wrong spot, or even like you stepped on a nail. That's an issue that you have that you need to solve pretty quickly, right? So try to relate these issues back to but there are some barriers to problem solving in any sort of problem. Being closed-minded is a huge issue that could potentially prevent you from being able to solve something. Make sure that you're staying open-minded and willing to try different types of solutions so that you're not stuck on one thing. Forget your personal feelings. We kind of talked about that a little bit. And don't fear change. If somebody brings a solution to you about changing a type of construction duty that you're about to do, try your best to be open to that and accept that and try other people's solutions that you're not worried about changing. Just collaborate with people. And as this next slide is going to talk about, we have a little diagram here. I wish they'd made the diagram bigger because it's a little bit tricky to see. But as you just talked about, teamwork is super important with problem solving. Develop options and think them through. Before you actually put anything to work, think about what's going to happen. Actually plan that solution out in your head and see what kind of solution you're going to have at the end. And then after that, you can implement your, try solutions. You might have to go back and try a different solution if it doesn't work, right? In general, we have 5 steps to problem solving. And again, I wish this diagram was bigger, but you'll see on this next slide, it has a little bit bigger. But the first step to any problem when you're trying to solve it is defining the problem. And that sounds kind of like a trick question because it's like, okay, trying to solve a problem, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to try to think through it. You're going to try to apply a solution. But really, the first thing you need to do is define your problem. If you ended up cutting something too short, you went to go cut a board and you cut it way too short, and that was the last board that you had, and what are you going to do? Okay, first things first, define that issue. I cut this board too short, and now I'm not sure how I'm going to finish this project with this piece of wood that I essentially ruined, right? That would be step number one. Define what it is, and you can figure out how to fix it. That may or may not be a test question, is asking what's the first step to solving a problem. Defining the problem is the first. Hi, there's my dog. The next step to finding a solution for your issue that you have is analyze alternatives. If you cut that board too short, start thinking about how you can fix this. Are you going to try to join the piece back together to the wood with glue? Are you going to try and go out and buy different wood? But what if I don't have any money? Okay, we have to figure out another solution. Maybe we can change the blueprints for this project, right? So start thinking through these other options. Yeah, Danny?
If you cut it short and you have one of those, what is it? Those where you can fit the wedges in there. What is
Like a
that tool
joiner?
called? Yeah.
Like a biscuit joiner or whatever it is.
Biscuit joiner. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Right, there you go. I love that. That's a possible solution that you might be able to work through. When you think about it, like we just talked about on the last slide, when you're thinking through a problem like that, make sure you think about all the possible effects that it might have. Okay, so say that we did a biscuit joiner and we put the piece back together, we wedged it back together. What are some of the issues that might arise from that? Maybe it's not going to work and it's going to fall off again. Or maybe it's not going to be sturdy enough now that we've joined it back together. Or maybe it's going to work great and it's going to be put back together just fine, and we're going to keep building our table or whatever it is we were trying to build with that piece of wood we cut too short. But all in all, you're going to think through all your options and you're going to choose a solution. So sure, maybe you chose that biscuit joining solution. You're going to implement it and monitor. So you're going to actually put it in action. You're going to biscuit join that piece back to that piece of wood, and you're going to monitor, which means you're going to see if it works. Is my piece of wood strong enough to hold up this table after I just biscuit joined it, or is it falling apart? Do I need to go back and then now change my solution and try something new? And that's what the evaluate the results means. It means, do I need to go back and try something new if it didn't work? And if you do, then that's all right. Sometimes finding a solution to a problem is all about trying it and failing and trying it again until you get something that works, right? Thank you for that example, Danny. You're so right. That helped out. Do we understand the kind of problem-solving process? The book likes to define it as 5 different steps to problem solving. So there are a couple test questions on it. So study this up. If you need to go back and watch this recording later, you are definitely welcome to. But yeah, define the problem is the first step to trying to solve a problem. That's something that you can remember. Okay, and then there's a little group work thing that if we were in actual class, we could have done it, but we're going to skip it for now. And I'm going to switch over to our next PowerPoint. These are short little PowerPoints, which is kind of helpful for us. Okay, this is my new one. We're going to new share. Got it. Okay, this is the second part to the same stuff. In this one, we're going to get back to problem solving and critical thinking, and then we're going to talk about social skills a little bit too. And the next PowerPoint will be more about social skills as well. I think that social skills are kind of underrated when it comes to finding a job and keeping a job, staying employed. Social skills are a really big piece to it. Being able to get along with your employees, being able to problem solve with people. Sometimes you have to compromise and come to conclusions with your team. And not be able to make all the decisions. So if you're somebody like me who is kind of a control freak and likes to do things your way, it can be hard for you to work with the team and come to solutions together where you might have to change the point of view. Some people don't have an issue with it. I am just one of those people that likes to do things a certain way, and sometimes that doesn't work out when you're on a job site and needing to work with other people. Okay, so here comes Alex. Awesome. They like to kind of jump around with these PowerPoints a little bit. This one's talking about different tools that you might use to manage a project and how they can help you kind of solve some unexpected problems and arise and challenge. Even the best of teams can have certain challenges that are hard to overcome. Something that you probably won't have to work too much with unless you've made your way up to a higher position in a company is working with things like Outlook issues like this, working with things like Excel spreadsheets and things like that. But these are some tools that could possibly be used to help in the future. with problem solving if you were a little bit higher up. But things about scheduling and project delays could be huge problems that could arise for a job site, right? So this PowerPoint kind of likes to talk more about how we can prevent problems from happening at all. So how can these factors here that cause delays, and how can the problems be solved? So let's start with the first one, material shortages or delivery problems. How could a material shortage cause a project delay? And anybody who wants to chime in is able to right now. What do you guys think? How could material shortages cause a project delay when you're on a construction site?
More than likely, yeah.
Say that one more time.
More than likely, yeah.
How do you think it would be an issue if you had a material shortage?
You couldn't build what you were trying to build. Like if you were trying to build, for instance, I grew up building pool barns. You know what I'm saying? And if we didn't have the right 2x4s or the right tools that dig the ditch or the trenches or sheet metal or nail, if you don't have the right materials, you're not going to be able to build what you're trying to build.
Right, exactly. If you
Can't
have,
get the job done.
right, if your materials didn't come in on that truck that you expected them to come in, how are you going to build? How are you going to finish your job without the materials you need, right? So that's going to cause a project delay because you simply can't do the job. We're going to skip down to the bottom one. Does anyone know what absenteeism means?
Yes.
What does that mean, Danny?
Means people who don't, like, no call, no show.
Right. Absenteeism is the general idea of people not showing up to work. So how is absenteeism or people being absent a lot of the time going to cause a project delay?
Shit.
Well, if me, Danny, and Allie were basically, if we got a job opportunity where we're told, yo, we're going to be here on this day, blah, 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 right? And when it's a 3-man job, you know, we can't do it 2-man or whatever. If one person doesn't call and show up, then the other 2 have to pick up on what he has to do. And sometimes they can't because it's a 3-person job.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
very
so
well said. Very well said, Travis. Yeah, so if people aren't showing up to do the job, how's the job going to get done? Especially if your teammate was relying on you to show up and it was a 2-person job. There's no way you could carry, those giant 2x4s by yourself, or there's no way you could hang those studs up by yourself. Then you simply can't do it. And then things are going to get delayed if things aren't being done on time. So absolutely. It's why we stress the importance of not doing no-call, no-shows. How many times do you think you could get away with a no-call, no-show at a job?
None. Just one time.
Shit, I'll tell you,
It really
my
depends
friend
on how
got
long you
fired
had
this
the job.
week because they showed up an hour late without calling.
Yep, without calling. Allie, what did you say?
It really depends on how long you had the job because, like, sometimes, like, or if you're on call and, like, you didn't know you worked a certain day and they didn't, like, something like that. Or if it's summer and you live in your car and you, like, passed out because it was so hot in your car, stuff like that. Like, it happened to me one time, and my boss, like, it also depends on your boss. My boss was really, really cool, and I did no call, no show, and I told her I quit, and then she hired me again.
See, that's it. I agree, Allie. I think that there are a lot of factors that could change the answer.
It depends on your boss and how much work you put into that place and stuff like that.
Absolutely. If you have worked at a company for 2 years and you never missed a day, or you were sick.
I was there for 6 years.
Okay, yeah, sure, 6 years. If you're there for 6 years and you never miss a day and you never did a no-call, no-show, you were always there, you were always communicating, and there's one random day where you ended up not coming to work and they didn't know why, their first thought will probably be, ooh, I hope they're okay. If you have really proven to them that you're a really good worker and that you show up all the time, their first thought is probably going to be, I hope they're all right, let's check in on them.
That's funny how you say that, because she texted me and was like, oh my God, are you okay?
Right.
And her daughter texted me too. I'm like, oh my God,
so
I
you
quit.
would obviously prove to them that you were a good worker. This probably isn't an issue of them not wanting to come to work or being lazy. There's something probably more going on. But if it's your second week on a job and you didn't show up and didn't tell anybody, they're going to be like, yeah, we don't got time for this. We're going to kick you off our team and find somebody who's going to be reliable, right? So that's why we stress the importance, and the youthful program is why we stress the importance of being communicative, calling in if you're not going to be able to make it, letting the staff know about some issues that are coming up. Like, I'm not going to be able to make it in 2 Tuesdays from now because I have a court appointment. Being super communicative and making sure we know what's going on so that we're not thinking that you're just not wanting to show up to work, right? Which we know it for you guys is usually not the case, but that's why it's so important to keep in contact, because we give you the benefit of the doubt. This is a case management program, and we're here to help you reduce barriers to employment. But a company is not going to know that, and they're not going to care about that per se. They're just going to be like, yeah, we don't have time for your absenteeism. You're off the team. Yeah, Danny, go for it.
How long do you, since I'm going to work with Steve tomorrow on Friday, how long do you think we're going to be working since it is a Friday? It's usually half days.
Fridays are usually half days, but I would check in with Steve. I don't want to answer that for sure without knowing. And Alex is on the line, and I wonder if he knows.
Hi.
Alex, you know? Hi, Alex.
Should be a half a day.
Okay, cool, because I got counseling in the afternoon.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
You should be off by noon. And I want to raise my hand because I have something to say too.
Oh my gosh, Alex, please
I
share.
know. So I was really thinking about what Allie was saying. I think like a no call, no show for a medical emergency typically isn't too big of a problem. Like if I'm on my way to work and I get into like a head on collision and I'm in the hospital and I tell my employer like 2 days later when I'm conscious again, they're probably not going to care too much.
Yeah.
Like in my job now, if I were to just suddenly do a no call, no show, at least with my company, my boss and my boss's boss, like my coworkers, I think they generally like me, but it doesn't really matter how much they like me. If I have a sudden no call, no show like that, they can't work with me because we have a business to run. And so they're going to write me up. Again, it doesn't matter how much they like me as a person or how good at my job they think I am. They got to write me up because they got to take care of the business first.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I've never gotten written up, and I've done all those things.
Again, depends on the business, but general rule of thumb, yeah. General rule
But I
of
also
thumb.
dated my boss, so.
You see, not a very typical situation. That would be
I'm still
atypical.
with him, though.
That would be atypical, I would say. Not most people are not that close to their boss, and so they don't have maybe as many privileges as that would be. So I would say
I will never be.
I had a lot of privileges with my boss.
I don't want details.
I don't want to know.
I think we should leave it at that.
You're hilarious, Allie.
Thank you for sharing that, though. That was helpful for me to explain this. Yeah, I would say general rule of thumb is to think that the boss, while they might care about you as a person, they have a business to run. Now, like, that's a good way to say it. They have a business to run, and they don't have time for you to not show up. They need people that are going to show up. They're not going to cause project delays by not being there. They're going to show up, be hard workers, stuff done on time. So if you're that kind of employee, then you're going to be able to keep a job for a very long time, right? In the grand scheme of things, keeping and maintaining a job is pretty simple. You show up, you do good work, and you help out your team, and you're going to keep a job for a really long time. That's pretty much the general rule. Okay, we're going to shift into personal and social skills a little bit, and then we're going to wrap things up here in the next 10 minutes. I probably won't get to the last PowerPoint, so we'll wrap up the last PowerPoint on the next class, and then we'll move on from my 2 lessons here, and Alex can take over NCCER again. But for now, we're going to talk about personal and social skills. So a great example that I like to use for this is your first impression at an interview, right? You walk into that company, wherever you are that you're interviewing, and you want to look great. You want to present yourself well. And that means more than just, dressing well and looking nice. It's about how people perceive you and your personality, right? So when you're first introducing yourself, you stand tall, you have your shoulders back. That typically exudes confidence. See, if I'm like sitting like, you can't really see very well. If I'm sitting like this with my arms crossed and like kind of with my hair in my face, not really making good eye contact, that's not showing confidence in who I am and the skills that I have, right? You want to show up, you want your shoulders back, you want to keep head held high, a smile, not like a really creepy smile, toothy smile, but just showing like you're excited to be there, you're excited to have this opportunity. looking people in the eye, making good eye contact, making a nice firm handshake. Handshakes might not be a thing for a while. I've heard handshakes might be eradicated for a while we're trying to get over the pandemic. So I wouldn't argue to go into an interview next week and try to shake someone's hand. They might reject it. But in general, giving a nice firm handshake, shoulders back, can show good confidence that you're ready for that interview. You're ready to go. Yeah, Danny, you had your hand raised.
Got crap. Oh yeah, I remember my question.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, forgot for a minute. Oh, you lowered it. My bad. When you first met all of us, and this includes you, Alex, who had the most professional, like out of all of us, who had the most professional like aura, like when it came to like first meetings, I guess, like what we're supposed to be doing when we go for an interview?
I honestly wouldn't say anybody did poorly in that, so I don't really have a good answer for that, because the reason why you guys are in this group, I mean, yeah, I think that there's definitely, if you're, you talk about yourself when you're able to exude confidence, that's a really good thing. But I don't think that if you're not doing that, that necessarily means that you had a bad introduction. So I know this isn't the answer you want, but I don't really have an answer for you on who I think was like the best presented, because it's a different situation, because this is a program where we're trying to help you guys reduce barriers, and so everyone's here for a different reason. Yeah, and it's not like we're employers, you know what I mean, where we're trying to employ people to get a certain job done.
Yeah, so I just ask these kind of questions because, like, I know when I first met you guys, I tried to be all professional, but I also tried to be personal. Because that's the atmosphere I got.
Absolutely.
And so I felt like I don't know who else did the same or who did differently, who was more professional, who was more like personal, like, oh, I'm in this program, it's gonna help me anyways, and then who of us was like so nervous we were like, hi, I'm this person, I'm here to do this,
Right. I totally know what you mean. I think Alex has something to say about it though.
Danny, since it seems like you really want me to say this, you, sir, were so wonderful and so professional, and I was just so impressed. Rolling on the floor, I was so impressed with you. Does that make you happy?
I call bull. I might be funny, but I'm not that funny.
No, honestly, my answer is the same as Lily's. I think all of you impressed me with that at different times. Allie did at times, Travis did at times, Evan did, all of you. Absolutely. I was really impressed.
And I think you guys are all in this program, and we accepted you into this program for a reason, because you had a lot of promising things. But that is a good question, and I would say, Danny, you saying that you were trying to balance being really professional with being personal is a really important thing, because an employer also doesn't want a robot to come in and be like, yes, I'm good, I'm very excited to be here. They want a little bit of your back history. They want a little bit of your personality. What kind of uniqueness are you going to bring to the table? I think that that's a really good thing that you just mentioned, is that you tried to balance that, being professional and being confident, but also showing a little bit of who you are as a person.
I got a fucked up girl, but I'm still going to smile.
There you go. I like that little analogy you just had. Yeah, you're still going to smile. You have some of your own things. You have unique things that you bring and personal things that you bring. But also still staying professional and being polite, right? And I think professionalism aligns really well with being polite. It's a lot of like being very thankful for the opportunity. It's a lot of making sure that they're aware that you really are excited to be there and you like working with people and making good connections with people, and being able to show that is important. It takes some personal things in there to show who you are. Some other sort of admirable characteristics to have. And these are not necessarily easy to teach, but they're just kind of things that a lot of people have innately, I would say, is things like dependability. That's showing up every day, and that's doing the job that you are assigned to do. And, people can always rely on you to do that. Having good organizational skills, that's a great thing. Being competent, making sure that you're able to do the job that you're able to do. Being honest, being helpful to the people on your team, and good grooming habits. If you show up and it's pretty apparent that you haven't changed clothes in a few days maybe, and you haven't brushed your hair in a few days or anything like that, those things are apparent. And so being able, I know sometimes it can be hard to have access maybe you're in a tough situation where it's hard to have access to showers, it's hard to have access to clean clothes. But there are ways to just make sure that you're coming across as professional as you can when entering an interview. And maybe it would take relying on some friends and family in that moment if you have them too, to be prepared for that. You know, if you like to wear makeup and it makes you feel good, that's awesome. I wouldn't say that kind of thing is necessary. You know, whatever makes you feel confident about yourself. Putting on a good shirt, maybe that means putting on a tie, nice pair of pants, things like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, getting all the face tats and stuff. No,
yeah, face tattoos are hard. I would never, ever recommend someone get a face tattoo just from being someone who has helped people get employment. All my jobs have been employment focused. So being a employment specialist, being a case manager, specifically working on employment barriers, I would never, ever, ever recommend a face tattoo.
Oh man, that ruins my plan.
You can put a tattoo in order to express your personality, and I just think that
But if you were to get a face tattoo,
no,
what would it
really
be?
Do. I really want a face tattoo.
I have a face tattoo.
That's off topic. I'm sorry. Back to what you were going to say, Lily.
No, it's not really that off topic. Oh, there you go. It's not super off topic because I think that's an important thing to do. If you are comfortable, if you have a face tattoo and it's the first time meeting an employer at an interview or whatnot, and you have access to makeup, I would try and cover it up the best that you can. And maybe you can mention it later in the interview and be like, hey, I have this face tattoo. I'm able to cover it up if you need me to, but I just want to make sure you're aware. And then, make sure that it shows that you're very honest about it, but you also have the ability to cover it up, right? If your employer really needs that. Not all employers care, but a lot of them do. So just be wary of that. Same with tattoos anywhere. If you have tattoos, where they might show on your wrist, or on your neck, or kind of, on your chest, on your collarbone.
Now, Travis,
show that you're able to cover them up, but maybe mention them. Just be like, hey, just so you know, I can cover them up whenever you need. I do have a couple tattoos.
Hey, Lily.
Some of the plans you mentioned to me, Travis, you might want to hold off on that, though.
Yeah, no. I was literally, see, we're totally
Donald
like
Trump
mind
butt
communicating right now, Alex, because I was literally just thinking the same thing.
Dude, same wavelength.
Yeah, wavelength, bro, because I was seriously, like, I want to go in the military, but, like, at the same time, I want to run my own business. And if I run my own business, you best believe I'm getting a face tattoo.
Right. Face tattoos, I think, make your life harder than they necessarily need to be. And personally, I just say there's so many other places you can put a tattoo to express your personality that's not directly on the forehead or wherever it may be. So that's just my opinion. Do with your life what you want. I will give you the information I have and how that will maybe create some barriers for you.
Best believe, though, I appreciate your input, Lily.
Danny, what's up?
Okay. So I have a question because I've ran into this before.
Okay.
I've met people who've ran into the same thing. How do you know if a company's gonna be like really against tattoos? Because I've met some bosses that are like really against any sort of tattoo. Like I have this cross on my forearm, and I've worn like a short sleeve polo button up, right? Mm-hmm. And some really nice jeans to an interview, and it was an interview for like stuff like what we do.
Sure.
And
I would say, yeah.
I got turned away because of the tattoo. He's like, oh, can you cover that up? I'm like, I mean, I could try makeup, but it's on my forearm, so.
Yeah. I would say I have two parts to that answer. I would say the first part would be what we talked about in the very beginning of this class, when we talked about researching a company to make sure that it's right for you. Doing a quick Google search, you might find people reviewing the company on places like Google and saying, talking about things like that, where, oh, the employer was really a stickler about tattoos and it's just not a place I could work. Or maybe they talked about the awesome things about
I've never actually done like a research for that kind of like reviews and stuff. Like I never thought about it until like, not because just because you said it, but like I haven't looked since we've got this job. Kind of opportunities have popped up for me during having this job, but I don't really have the time with all the classes and my kid and stuff.
Right, and you're not necessarily actively looking for full-time work since you're in youth build, so I think that it's a little different.
Yeah,
but I would say,
At the same time, I've like, what was it? I kind of had that feeling that I need that they like everything has like kind of like they used to be like I'm gonna put this on Yelp or something, like a review on some shit. Mm-hmm. And they do that. When I've looked up jobs like McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and places like that, there's always some type of bad review.
Right.
What if there's just like a bad, like somebody who got fired from there or something because they weren't doing well and shit, and then they just give a bad review and they end up fucking up your like whole like.
Exactly. So you have to take
How are you supposed to
everything with a
judge
grain
the
of
difference
salt.
between that?
Yeah, you can do your own research and take it with a grain of salt. If there's one person on there that's had something bad to say and everybody else had something good to say, you might think maybe it was a fired employee and now they're just a little bit angry, right? But
Well,
if you're seeing
that's kind of like with
consistently,
that's kind of like with apps. Like when you sit there and look up reviews on apps, a lot of them are
Right.
like the admin and shit, like sitting there just like putting in these good comments so they get more
Possibly.
good reviews.
possibly.
What if like I'm pretty sure a lot of companies do that too.
Mhm. That's definitely a thing. So when you're doing your research, you have to kind of like the conversation we had weeks ago about being able to consume media responsibly and being able to kind of look through bias, being able to kind of make decisions for yourself, even though you're doing that research. Definitely do your research on the company. Go to their website, see what kind of things they
Oh
talk about
snap!
on the
I gotta go.
website. I know you do have to go. I'll say the second part to my to that answer is just ask them. If you're in an interview and you're not sure, just be like, hey, do you guys accept tattoos? If not, I can cover them up, but I just want to be honest and say that I have them. Asking them point blank is the best way to get information.
That's why I'm gonna wait.
What's that, Travis?
I said that's why I'm gonna wait. You know.
Yeah, definitely wait. Some companies are way more lenient than others, especially with things like piercings and tattoos. But just ask them politely. Be like, hey, it's not an issue with me, but I just want to let you know I have them. It's easy to cover them up. What's your policy?
Yeah.
And that shows that you're willing to be honest about it and you're inquisitive, and they're going to appreciate questions like that. So, yeah. Danny, go ahead and go. We're about to wrap up for next time, so you are welcome to head out. Yeah, thanks for the
All
good
right, I'll see you guys later.
All righty,
All right.
see you later.
Yeah.
For everybody else, we're going to stop here. We're halfway through this PowerPoint, and we have one even shorter PowerPoint afterwards. We will pick that up next week and finish things up and do a little review for the quiz over the exam as well. Okay. So, do you guys have any questions on what we went over so far?
Yeah, I wasn't here for the majority of it.
Yes, it's recording and it's going to go on YouTube and then be on the Facebook page. You can go back and watch the rest of it. But Evan, you were here for the last one. So we did a little recap from the last one, but you didn't even need that because you were here for the last one. Yeah, so we are going to wrap this up next time. You are welcome to go back and watch these. Watch this recording again or watch the one from before. And then after that, we will finish this up next week. How does that sound?
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, you guys are free to go. We'll pick it up on work ethics next time.
All righty.
All righty. You guys exit out. I'm going to stick on this meeting for a while.
All righty. See you, Lily.
All right. See you later.